Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tempcast, the official GBAtemp podcast. Today, I'm joined by resident legal whatever, Eric.
Hey, that's me. Hello.
And Tempcast regular, Steven.
Thanks for pointing out how unaccomplished I am next to Eric. That was great. Thank you.
Yep. And they call me the Alan John. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we are not joined this week by our executive producer. She's out there doing important stuff, hopefully for the website, for the podcast. So, yeah, let's please just clap for Chari and all she's done. Thank you, Chari. Anyways, we're going to be starting off with probably the biggest news that happened this week, not just in the gaming world, but in the world, you know. Because I don't think anybody talked about anything other than this. I don't think anything significant happened this week. I don't think so.
I don't think of.
Apparently, a lot of stuff has been delisted from the 3DS and Wii U eShops. Concerning the 3DS, we're starting off with the fact that DSiWare games, which were previously hosted on the DSi eShop as well, but that closed around 2 years ago, DSiWare games were still available for download and purchase on the 3DS eShop. But, as it turns out, quite a majority of DSiWare games are actually no longer available on the 3DS eShop. Twitter user Come Out Punching has noted this first, that DSiWare titles released before mid-May 2011 have been removed from the digital storefront as of January 1st, 2021. Now, this came without any warning whatsoever from Nintendo. So if you didn't get the chance to download Shantae or the game with the small Marios and the Donkey Kong, I don't remember what it's called. That was a DSiWare exclusive as well. Well, then you're out of luck because it's no longer available legally. Of course, there are means of obtaining the software on your 3DS. Well, you can actually find out how on GBAtemp.net, which is quite interesting. However, how to obtain these files is not something you can discuss on the website, unfortunately.
So I think that Nintendo definitely should have given some kind of heads up that they were going to remove these games. I don't have a problem with them actually removing them if nobody was, downloading them anymore, but they really should have given some kind of heads up, just for anybody who wants to purchase them at the last second. I think that by doing it quietly, they were just trying to fly under the radar and make it seem like they weren't just in the process of slowly discontinuing the store. So yeah, they definitely should have given a heads up before they started yanking these titles off of the eShop.
Yeah, pretty much what Eric said. I don't have anything to add. There's no reason for them not to give any warning.
Yeah, especially with a company such as Nintendo that has record profits, I think, this year. I don't know. Eric, how's Nintendo stock doing?
Oh, geez. I was not prepared to answer that question, but I will tell you in a second. Nintendo stock did, in general, go up this year, but so did most stocks. This has been a good year for the market because we're pumping lots and lots of money into the market. Nintendo stock has gone up 63.47% in the past year. So if you invested in last January, you're doing pretty good.
So yeah, with a company like this, with record profits, well, not record profits, I don't know. Maybe they're not in the same era they are when they released the Wii. You'd think a company like this could afford, I don't know, how much does it cost to keep up those DSi servers up and running? Maybe like $10K a year, maybe a little bit more. I doubt it. You'd think they could afford this for the fans, but nah. But they'll still sue websites that are hosting these DSiWare ROMs. I guess you could call them ROMs, basically. So, yeah, that's kind of a shame. However, fear not, the emulation, the homebrew scene, the hacking scene as a whole, it's thriving during this period of time. So, I think most of these games, if not all, are already backed up somewhere. I'm not going to say where, but they are probably easily accessible on the internet. These DSiWare games, they're quite easy to install on a hacked 3DS. Concerning the DSi, though, if you have a hacked DSi with what's it called, Twilight menu, I don't know how well that works. I never got any DSiWare working, unfortunately, on my hacked DSi. DSiWare that I legally own. But an important thing to notice here is the fact that this purge of eShop games, first of all, only happened to games released before 2011, and it's only in the US. So if you're in the EU, you still have a chance to snag that copy of Shantae or whatever. You probably want to use that chance if you still want to support them that way. Obviously, this had to happen sometime soon. However, yeah, the fact that they didn't give a warning, maybe they didn't give a warning because they didn't want to overload the servers with all the 15 people who still care about DSiWare games on the eShop.
Maybe this is a Y2K style bug. When it rolled over to 2021, the servers couldn't handle it anymore and it had to drop Risky Shantae's Revenge.
Exactly. Interestingly enough, this is sort of giving credence to the argument that you shouldn't buy things digitally because eventually these stores will actually, stop supporting those games. So it's like you buy things from the Nintendo store, you buy things from the PSN store, from Xbox, and then, many years down the line, they'll just close the store and, well, hey, I gave you guys my money and now I don't get these games anymore. And companies are like, nah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. But now we're sort of seeing, oh, this is happening. And, it's finally the time of reckoning for Nintendo.
So yeah, just going back to what Steven said, that this is some kind of bug. Now, I doubt it. I don't think that... Well, it's possible. It's definitely possible. It's not that, that's out of the question. But I doubt, Nintendo is hosting this on, how many bits would you need to keep 10 years of information? 3-bit servers, 4-bit servers, where they can't handle, a date past 2020? Wait, actually, I think I heard that somewhere that 2020 would be the real Y2K. I can't remember where. I'm going to Google that.
2020 definitely did seem pretty apocalyptic to me. I'm not necessarily sure that this year is going to be much better, but
it's been great so far.
So, like Alan John said, it's these games aren't impossible to still find. But clearly, so some people are going to use this as an excuse to pirate, saying piracy is okay and all that. And I don't really care whether or not you do it, but it should be noted that it's still illegal to do, even if the game is no longer being sold. There's an argument out there that's false, that because the game's no longer being sold, it's no longer copywritten, so therefore it's okay, we could just go ahead and download this. But that's not how copyright law works.
No.
Things are in copyright for the author's life plus 70 years or something like that. They might have recently changed that to be even longer than 70 years. But yeah, these games are still, even if you can't obtain them from the eShop anymore, you're still pirating at your own risk. Whatever the risks are, which you know what the risks are when you pirate. It's just still just as illegal and or risky as pirating a game that's still available.
So yeah, don't pirate, but if you're on GBAtemp, I doubt you're going to listen to that. No offense.
But yeah, like Eric was saying, it's really risky and something bad could happen and the risky could get its revenge. That was a stretch.
That was...
Don't laugh, Vetch. That
nice.
sucked.
No, keep it. It's staying in. It's
staying in, Steven. You left a lot of stuff in previous episode. So this is staying in, right? This is my risky revenge right here. All right. So returning back to that Y2K bug I was talking about, I was actually right that there was a sort of revenge of Y2K in 2020, but it was mid-2020, actually in the beginning, more so because of a lazily fixed Y2K bug where basically instead of revamping the system, the date system using operating systems, I don't know, I'm not a computer expert, they basically changed, because past 1999, the date would revert back to 1900s. So instead of that, they just fixed 1900s into the 2000s. I don't know computer stuff, but basically what it meant was that past 2020, it would switch back to 1920, which would screw up all the computer systems. So Yeah, it's probably not what happened at Nintendo because 2021 came. And it says right here that the next potential big problem date would be 2038.
Oh, we'll all be dead by then.
No, what the fuck? No. Steven, that's like 18 years from now. I'm not planning on dying in 18 years.
You never plan for it.
Is it possible Nintendo took it down because those games were only up to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Y2K?
Exactly. They
What?
they pulled a Super Mario 35 on us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So now all Nintendo games, all Nintendo exclusives are going to be like that. And retroactively, they're going to just find every copy of Ocarina of Time and destroy it.
Yep. To celebrate the N64's, what is it, 25th? Oh, this is the 25th anniversary, so that kind of works. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, people are waiting for the N64 to get on the Virtual Console on the Switch. But little do they know, Nintendo is planning to purge every single N64 unit out there and just destroy them.
Yeah.
To make you buy their service. That's going to be exclusive for only like 2 months, and then it's gone forever.
Any N64 they don't destroy, it doesn't matter, because their internal clock is going to roll back to 1921 in the middle of the year.
Nintendo can take our Ocarina of Times, but they can never take away our 9.5-hour Ocarina of Time online Christmas event streams.
I don't even know what you're referencing. I'm out of the loop.
It's all right. That's all right.
Maybe that one should get cut. All right. Love it.
So, returning back to the sad news of the 3DS eShop not lasting forever, we have more signs of it dying down, as well as, believe it or not, the Wii U eShop, because Netflix is pulling its services from the Wii U and 3DS, which is sad because this blew my mind. It turns out you can only access Netflix from a Nintendo product from a 3DS or a Wii U, but now you can't even do that because Netflix isn't even available for the Switch for some reason.
Yeah.
You guys big Netflix fans? Are you disappointed with this? You can't watch Stranger Things on your 3DS?
I was going to say, the idea of watching Netflix on a 3DS is so strange to me. It's such a small screen. It's like 240p. I don't know who would want to watch anything on that anyway.
Oh, dude. At the time when the 3DS came out, before mobile phones were that popular, dude, I could see that happening.
Oh, yeah, for sure at the time.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, because we're talking like 2011. That's fair.
And also for the Wii U, the fact that you could, just see them on your mobile tablet, and lots of people that screen was bigger than our phones at the time. And I mean, it still is bigger than our phones.
Yeah, that one definitely made sense.
It did make sense, but we all have smart TVs. Well, we don't all, but lots of people have smart TVs now. They can stream it on their phones. Just lots and lots of ways to watch Netflix that don't involve, game consoles. And then even if you have like a PS4 or 5 or Xbox or whatever, you still have it on all of that. It is very strange, though, that it's not on Switch, because you'd think that would be able to simulate the Wii U experience of being able to watch it docked or undocked. I don't know. Nintendo hates money, or Netflix doesn't want to give Nintendo money.
I guess it's weird because it does seem like it would be a perfect fit for the Switch, honestly. Because there were times where, like, if a show I really like drops a new season, I'll be totally glued to it, and I might want to like take it as the little tablet upstairs with me while I go cook lunch or something, and then bring it back down, and I can quickly pop it back into the TV. Like, I don't know. That seems like such a no-brainer. It's weird that's not on the Switch yet.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd have to watch it on your TV and then pause it, pull it up on your phone, go to the bathroom, come back, put it back on your TV.
I don't want to do that. That's horrible.
You gonna bring your Switch to the toilet? You don't do that?
No.
Oh.
Come on.
All right, weirdo.
I mean, it's horrible having to, like, pull it up on something else. That's bad.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a big pain. I don't want to do that.
See, here I am over here thinking that you have something against playing video games while you're on the toilet. All right, stop with the potty humor. Moving on.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Switch, we actually have more information about the so-called Switch Pro that has been a rumor for what seems to be years now. I remember hearing about this thing at the beginning of 2020. Wow, we're in 2021 right now. That's That's insane. I still can't comprehend it. Still in 2020 in my head. But anyways, yeah, the Switch Pro, we heard lots of things. We heard that it's going to be like a dock-only Switch. We heard that it's going to be just an upgraded Switch with a new screen or bigger battery and, a better processor. Well, Twitter user SciresM, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is well known for his work on the Atmosphere custom firmware, has made a lot of interesting discoveries via data mining the latest Switch firmware updates. Basically, from what he tells us, now we can't confirm this, Nintendo is supposedly working on a new Switch under the code name of Aula? Sounds like a stupid name, like a name you'd give to a girl, like a really stupid, name.
A really stupid girl.
I thought you were gonna say that's what like a really stupid girl.
No. The girl might not be stupid, but the parents are like, "Oh, I'm gonna call her Aula." Like, what? How do you Aula?
It's a hipster name for sure.
Wait, let's Google it. Maybe it's like some kind of fruit. No, it doesn't seem to be anything really.
How do you spell it?
AULA.
The heck?
There's a university called Aula. Oh, maybe it's not a university. It's like some online thing. Don't check it out because we're not sponsored by them. Just
clearly
only visit GBAtemp.net.
Yeah. And raid Shadow Legends using our code GBAtemp.
No, we're ending that bit.
Oh, all right.
SciresM is saying is that Nintendo is working on a new model with upgraded display stuff and has been for around 2 years. I personally believe, now this is SciresM talking, I personally believe it's a 4K given the signs I'm seeing in the firmware, but that's not confirmed yet and could be wrong. Aula has firmware support, some Realtek chip that advertises itself as a 4K UHD multimedia SoC. Now, these grammatical errors I'm making aren't mine. I'm just reading the text. 2. Hence, my belief it's 4K. The chip that might be inside a new dock and not inside the tablet, though. There's no way to tell from the firmware code yet. Okay, that's interesting. We'll get to that later. Aula explicitly supports handheld mode. It is not docked only. That's Calcio, which seems like it's for internal only / never releasing since Calcio has no game card slot and no battery. Maybe a digital only version of the Switch. Who knows? Checked my previous discussions with Hex Keys. The upgraded tablet display is an OLED screen. Now, I doubt that. Probably not higher resolution on tablet itself, so I guess the 4K Realtek chip is more likely to be a new dock than I thought it was. So this new Switch is still using the Marico chip that's found in the Switch Lite and the upgraded Switch V2, which has just better battery, which is strange for me because you'd think Nintendo and Nvidia would work on like some new powerful processor, which they could, and just implement it into their new Switch. But no, it seems they're going with the trusty old Marico and just updating their display. Now, I think around 2 years ago, there was a rumor that Nintendo was working with Sharp, and Sharp would make displays for Nintendo, but they didn't say at the time for what. But they did strike a deal, so it might be for this. I doubt that Switch is going to use an OLED screen because those things have a lot of burn-in, especially after time. And we know that Nintendo strives to make products that last for a long time. Like my DS Lite, it still works. My GBASP still works. But I can guarantee you an OLED screen, after a long time of gaming, it's going to have some burn-in. It's going to have some UI elements still in it, like years later. So I don't think it's going to be an OLED. What do you guys think? Just
about the OLED screen is, yeah, there's burn-in as a possibility, but I don't think that it happens as frequently as you say it like that. I think that they look so, an OLED screen is so much better than an LCD screen in terms of visual quality.
I agree.
Yeah, like the best version of the Vita was the one with the OLED screen, and I played that enough, and I've never had any burn-in. I know it happens, but I think it's one of those things where it's like when it happens, it sucks, but I wouldn't go in expecting it to happen. And besides, Nintendo has already had quality control problems with the drifting Joy-Cons, so I don't think they care too much about whether or not their screen will have burn-in. Steven, what do you think?
That was actually basically what I was going to say about the OLED.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I just want to reiterate quickly that this is just all speculation. Like, even if this stuff is in there, it doesn't necessarily mean that this stuff is coming, because what's his name? SciresM? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It says that there's...
SciresM.
says that there's another codenamed one named Calcio, which has no game guard slot and no battery, but he thinks that's only for like internal use and probably wouldn't ever come out. So
one thing for sure is that Nintendo is going to release an upgraded Switch at some time. It might be this year, it might be next year. And the thing that makes this sound legitimate for me is actually the thing that I want least to be true, is the use of the Marico chip in symbiosis with a Realtek SoC or whatever it is. Because from what it seems is that using these two in synergy would allow them to do something like, just running the game on a Marico chip, then using another external, well, not external, but another like chip in order to like improve the visuals, like maybe adding DLSS, which is deep learning super sampling, which would, in theory, we've talked about this previously on the podcast, which would significantly improve the 4K upscaling of Nintendo games, which would basically make them look like they're running at 4K, which is definitely a possibility, especially with NVIDIA being on board. However, the OLED screen, unless Nintendo has figured out something with OLED technology that makes it usable, and it's also very expensive compared to LCD technology, LCD screens, IPS screens. However, I won't be surprised if I'm proven wrong in the next coming months or so. So there's that 4K UHD multimedia SoC, which is what the Realtek chip is described as. It might mean it just plays videos at 4K, because nobody's even talking about native 4K gaming on a Switch. Just forget about it. It's not happening. Maybe in like some 2D game, maybe, but no way are you running Breath of the Wild 4K on a Switch in playable frame rates. And also, I heard people speculating that the new display technology might even have something like a higher refresh rate. I doubt that. There are barely any games that push past even 30 FPS. There's a couple of first-party titles and indies that run on 60, but for the majority of graphically intensive games on the Switch, it's 30 FPS. Does Breath of the Wild run on 60 FPS on the Switch, Steven?
I don't think it even runs on 30.
Yeah.
I know the Wii U version definitely didn't. I think the Switch one was probably about the same. I don't know. I played it more on Wii U than I did Switch.
Yeah, so I'm very confused about this. I still don't understand if it's using a Marico chip or the Realtek SoC, because if they're switching manufacturers from going from NVIDIA to Realtek, that is significant downgrade. It's probably used in symbiosis with the Tegra, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what he's speculating, that the Realtek chip would just be inside the dock and then that would somehow supplement it?
Why?
I don't know.
It's not like I can get an AMD chip and stick it in my motherboard, which already has an Intel one, and get twice the amount of compute power. That's not how computers work. So
I know, but isn't that what he says? That chip might be inside a new dock and not inside the tablet, though there's no way to tell from the firmware code yet.
Okay, so yeah, but what would it do?
I have no idea. I don't know. I cannot imagine what that would possibly do.
You don't have the balls to try it.
What?
What?
I like this version of Eric that mutters threats at us from the corner quietly.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
I miss the Eric that made segues.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Me too. Speaking of the Eric that makes segues, have you guys heard of All the Small Things, the greatest Kids Bop song as sang by an adult? Well, here's where we segue over to our new segment, which has been a segment since I think episode 3, called All the Small Things, where we talk about all the small things, such as Microsoft, back in the good old days of the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, whatever. They wanted to buy Nintendo, and they were laughed out. Haha, you get out of here, Microsoft. We're Nintendo. We don't need you to buy us out. Anybody have more details than the very vague information that I just gave?
Yeah, so reading from Chari's post on the website, it says here that Microsoft in the early 2000s wanted to buy a lot of things, not just Nintendo. They also wanted to purchase Midway Games and Square Enix and EA Games, which is big.
EA
People
Games,
start with
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been, who knows, maybe EA would have been a better, publisher and developer if Microsoft bought them, or they would end up like, what's that, Retro? Oof, that would have been bad. Not Retro, Rare. I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay. How did I? Because Retro and Rare, they both make Donkey Kong games.
They do, yeah.
They both start with R.
Well, okay, so they tried to at first strike a deal with a Nintendo by basically offering them to create the hardware.
By basically insulting their hardware.
Yeah, like your N64, nah, not cutting it, bro.
A direct quote from one of the dudes, Bob McBreen, is the pitch was that their hardware stunk.
Yeah.
And then they would handle the hardware. I'm like, that is pretty ballsy to walk into an office and insult all the people in there immediately.
I don't think that's how you do negotiations.
Yeah.
Maybe Donald Trump and Art of the Deal type of stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, that's really playing hardball.
Yeah, at first they wanted to partner with them, and then they attempted to outright buy them, which, FYI, for any billion-dollar CEOs listening to this podcast, it's very difficult to acquire a Japanese company or any Japanese licenses, whatever, or IPs, because they're Japanese. Basically, I don't know how to explain this. I remember back in 2018 or 19, Disney tried to acquire Sony's film division. What's it called? Sony Movie Studios?
Sony Pictures?
Sony Pictures.
Sony Pictures, yes. Exactly. So Disney actually, there were rumors of this. This obviously isn't confirmed, but it seems that the same thing happened to Disney, even though, like, Disney, in theory, could have purchased it just by the fact that Sony Pictures was failing as a division of Sony in the past couple of years heavily, and they could have outright bought them. But they didn't, so instead they actually striked a deal, because this was in the time of turmoil with Spider-Man, because they lost the license, and then Sony was gonna do more Tom Holland movies, but they're not gonna be in the MCU, and it was during this period that Disney actually thought, okay, what if we just buy Sony? But you can't, because Japanese honor system doesn't allow that, even if the company is bleeding money. It's the same reason why I doubt that Sony is ever going to acquire, like, the Konami IPs, Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill. I doubt that's happening because of that honor system thing they have, which sounds incredibly racist. So I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but that's the impression I got from reading all these articles. So yeah, it makes sense that Nintendo laughed at them. However, what do you guys think? What kind of industry would we be in if Nintendo and Microsoft had this synergy? Imagine playing Mario on Xbox. What do you guys think?
Well, I mentioned this in the GBAtemp thread about it, but it didn't seem like such an outrageous proposal at the time, I don't think. It's not like Nintendo was bleeding for money. Like they were pretty, it was a pretty successful company, but clearly it was nowhere near on the level of, Microsoft as a whole or Sony as a whole, because Nintendo was focused sort of on the, a specific aspect of commerce, whereas Microsoft and Sony are all over the place. So I guess it didn't seem like such a ludicrous attempt at the time. And clearly Microsoft, they had the ability to make better hardware than Nintendo did. I'm not saying that Nintendo's hardware sucked. For video games, it was like top of the line ish at the time. Yeah, it wasn't that crazy. I'm glad they didn't do it, I guess is what I'm saying. Is I'm glad they didn't do it. The atmosphere right now would be way different. We would really only have sort of Microsoft and Sony competing with each other. Maybe Sega would have stuck around for a while longer, but I'm not sure if that's true.
You say the atmosphere would be different, but I'd argue that there wouldn't be any atmosphere because I doubt the Switch would exist.
Oh.
That is hilarious, my guy. Wow. And then Gary Opa would still be not in jail.
Yeah.
The fact that Microsoft didn't buy out Nintendo is sort of what started the groundwork to having Gary Bowser get arrested. Yeah, really. If he would not be arrested if this deal went through. So it's kind of selfish of Nintendo to not have been bought out by Microsoft.
This is some real butterfly effect. Yeah. This is.
Yeah, they really should have thought this through a little better. There's some stuff to think about here. Also, it's like, Microsoft comes in, makes fun of Nintendo's hardware, like, oh, your hardware sucks. They're like, no, our hardware is good. Every single Nintendo console has been hacked to death, like really quickly after release, as opposed to, it's like, you know how easy it is to hack a Switch and how hard it is to do it for, Xbox or PlayStation. So.
Yeah, but where are the Xbox sales and where are the Switch sales?
Oh, I don't know, but who makes more money, Microsoft or Nintendo?
Well, you can only compare their gaming divisions. I mean, that's not fair to.
I know. That's I'm cheating. Yeah, no. The Switch is very successful.
You picked the wrong forum if you're on the side of Xbox, dude.
No, I'm rarely on the side of Xbox. No,
this is GBAtemp, not 360 temp.
Well, it's KFC temp now. The Switch did good. The Wii U did good.
Oh yeah, the Wii U was awesome. The Wii U fucking knocked it out of the goddamn park.
I meant to say Wii, but the Wii U was.
Clearly, Eric is the gaming historian we should be listening to here as he puts out his alternate history little essay.
The Wii U and the Dreamcast. I'm really happy that we all use them.
Yeah, I think if Microsoft had bought Nintendo, I doubt they would let them do all the weird hardware stuff they do, right? Like, we probably wouldn't have had a Wii or 3DS, maybe a DS, I don't know. But, and certainly maybe the Switch would still be around, maybe. But I've been thinking, I wonder how different everything would be if those consoles didn't exist. Because without the Wii introducing motion controls, I don't think we would have had that period in the 7th generation where, with the Kinect and the PlayStation Move and stuff like that. And I wonder how that would affect.
Oh yeah, that was good times.
Well, I wonder how that would affect things moving forward. Because then there was PSVR uses the Move controller, so there was already probably a decent number of people that had those. I wonder, or at the very least, Sony would have to develop from scratch a lot of that motion technology. I wonder if that would affect the way the VR goes, or if they'd be less willing to experiment with weird stuff if they hadn't done the Move earlier and seen the success of the Kinect and the Wii. I don't know. I do wonder how it would change things if it was only the two of them and Nintendo stayed a much more traditional company. I also wonder, would Microsoft keep buying up all these other studios and would both Nintendo and Bethesda end up first-party Microsoft studios and Nintendo people would be working on Bethesda IP?
Oh yeah, imagine Mario and Skyrim. That could be real.
Could be.
Yeah, there's probably a mod in it.
I like that you didn't go for Zelda, the more obvious choice.
Oh yeah, it's can you believe it, Baby Yoshi
in Fallout?
In Fallout,
yeah. Can you believe they put Donkey Kong in Brink?
Brink. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
I didn't realize fucking John Lennon was such a big fan of Brink.
It's supposed to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi, but whatever.
Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, so Star Wars Battlefront 2 is actually free on the Epic Store right now. Isn't that interesting, guys? Not the good one, the new one.
It's not free yet. However, when this podcast actually releases, it might be. No, it's going to be available January 14th through January, I think, 20th. So yeah, it's going to be free for a couple of days on the Epic Game Store.
Okay, cool.
Which is great.
That's news.
I'm really anticipated for this game. I played the beta for it like 5 years ago, I think. Wow, it's been such a long time. And really enjoying it and saying to myself, yeah, when this game goes on sale, I'll definitely buy it. And it went on sale like last week with the Steam sale, because now EA games are available on Steam. The Steam winter sale. And I legitimately was very close to buying it, and good thing I didn't, because now it's free on the Epic Game Store and I could just grab it. And it's the Celebration Edition, so it has all the DLCs already.
Can I ask, when you say you played the beta of this 5 years ago, do you mean you played the original Battlefront from EA? Or was there actually a beta back in 2015?
Okay, I played both, yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, because, yeah, the first beta was very interesting for the first Battlefront, because that was basically almost half of the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the game itself shipped with, I think, 4 multiplayer maps in the beginning, and a couple of co-op maps. And that's it. It didn't have any single player. It was just bare bones. But it looked and played fantastic. Like, seeing Battlefront in the Frostbite engine by DICE, it's amazing graphics. Still, to this day, that game looks phenomenal. And Battlefront 2 as well, it looks even better. But yeah, the open beta for Battlefront 1 was like 50% of the game, because the game shipped with 4 maps and the beta had 2.
Isn't it funny that there was a big controversy around that first Battlefront because it had such a small amount of content? It had so little content. And wasn't Battlefront 2 meant to basically be an apology for the first one by having a lot more content? And then it became even more controversial with all the loot boxes because they hid all the content behind paywalls.
Oh yeah, because I remember the E3 presentation. It's like, hey, you asked for a single-player campaign? Well, you got it. You got a single-player campaign that's canon in the Star Wars universe. That's right.
You asked for Darth Vader, you gotta pay 40 hours to get him.
Their biggest thing was the fact that they had free DLC.
Oh, yeah.
So, legitimately, like, Battlefront 2 had free DLC, which I think Battlefront 1 had paid DLC for some reason. The Season Pass, whatever. No Season Pass, no anything in Battlefront 2, only microtransactions.
Only microtransactions.
Honestly, I don't see why you guys are having a problem. Do you not have a sense of pride and accomplishment by, grinding the game? Like, you guys are kind of just like, oh, give me all of the content that you've already developed. Like, give me Darth Vader without having to work. It's like, guys, where's your sense of pride? Where's your sense of accomplishment? Where's your sense of, I think that it should have been like a gambling system where you put money in and then you have the chance of getting Darth Vader. But no, you guys, you want it your way, whatever. Also, this isn't the only video game that's canon to the Star Wars universe. You guys remember that Fortnite event where it was when Emperor Palpatine was revived, I guess, that they did that off screen between episodes 8 and 9.
Oh, it wasn't off screen. It was on your Fortnite screen. It was on your phone, your PC, your Xbox. It was on lots of screens.
Exactly. So you don't see him come back, but you see him come back in Fortnite. It was on your Fortnite screen. It's the most ridiculous thing that God, it blows my mind.
By the way, Eric, real quick, can I just ask you, did you get a pride of sense and accomplishment when you left Tabletop Simulator idle on your PC for 1,000?
Pride of sense.
Is that what I said? Sorry, I don't know how to speak.
Pride of sense.
I forgot how to make words.
I did have a pride of sense and accomplishment. So yeah, because I 100% all the games that I play, I had to leave Tabletop Simulator. I had to let it idle for 1,000 hours, and
you felt very proud of that.
I did, because I'm like, hey, all of my friends who play it way more than I do, I'm like, look, but do you have the 100% Steam list? So
no, they had fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's a free game. So, but since we're similar, since we're on the topic, I might as well mention that if you're subscribed to Xbox Games with Gold, you will be able to download with no extra cost. I'm not going to say free, because then people will get all fucking mad at me about it. But you could download Little Nightmares, The King of Fighters 13, breakdown in Dead Rising this month.
Dead Rising is a kick-ass game. I wrote a recommends on it last December. People should look it up because that game is amazing.
There you go. Aren't we on King of Fighters 14 Ultimates coming out? So I guess that makes sense why you'll be able to play the 13th one. And if you have, I'm going off of memory, if you have the PS Plus, you'll be able to download Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but not the deluxe edition. You have to pay extra for the DLC, which I think is $6.
That's fair.
Maneater, but only the PS5 version. But even if you don't have a PS5, you can add it to your catalog right now if you just add it to your library on like the app or through your computer. What's the other game? Oh, Greedfall. Greedfall's the other one. And you can play that on PS4. I don't know. There you go. There's all the in quotes with an asterisk free games that you get this year or this month in January.
Now, this is the last month of free games because, financial stuff, and Joe Biden is actually banning all these free games. He says that it's bad for the children, giving out free things.
Well, you understand that the reason why people were rioting on the Capitol was because of all the violent video games that they were playing. Hillary Clinton was talking all about that. So that's the thing. You play enough Grand Theft Auto, you're gonna storm the America's house.
You're gonna want to play Fortnite on Nancy Pelosi's computer. That's what it does.
Thought that was going somewhere else.
Oh, that was an event.
That was a Fortnite event.
That would be a hell of a Fortnite event, storming the Capitol.
Yeah. It's like well, the thing is they just sort of took a recess for 6 hours, but it doesn't matter. The riots or protests, whatever you want to call it, they actually sped the process up because they didn't object to as many states.
Okay.
So good job for speeding things up. How about that Lenovo handheld PC console,
Wow,
guys?
what a smooth segue, Eric. Nice job.
See, I was looking forward to Donald Trump streaming Homefront the Revolution, but unfortunately he got banned from Twitch. So
I wanted him to stream Donald Trump's Real Estate Tycoon.
It's a great game. I've never played it, but I'm sure it's excellent.
So how about that Lenovo?
I think the biggest news here is that CES 2021 actually happened. I'm surprised. Was it like an online event?
It was.
Yes, Chari attended.
I heard through the grapevine from someone that attended that there was a dude who was gossiping about all his coworkers and talking about how some lady gets drunk all the time and he didn't realize his mic was on. And he made himself look very foolish, and he's definitely getting fired.
So yeah, Lenovo announced this portable computer thing that's got this. If you look at it,
It looks like a Switch.
it's like one of those knockoff Android switches, but it looks somehow worse and even more uncomfortable because the pads on. It's like they're from a different system. Holy shit! Look at that. This is so bad. Wow.
Yeah, it's really ugly.
Couldn't you not make them the same size as the screen? Like, what is the deal? It's like taken from a completely different device, honestly.
Yeah.
They look like... Oh, you know what this reminds me of? The iPega thing that you put on your phone. It like stretches out and you put your phone in landscape. I think that is that. Like, they just put a tablet there.
Yeah, there's a little video of it, and you can see the controller slide on. It's like a whole thing. They don't insert from the side. There's like a little, I don't know how to describe it, but like it sort of like clips onto the back, and so I guess it's made specifically for this thing.
So I'm looking at the pictures. I haven't seen this yet. The little hole that's in front of the keyboard, is that an Ethernet port?
No, that's an optical sensor instead of the trackpad. For like, you mean like in the little... when the keyboard is out?
Why would you have an Ethernet?
Yeah, there's like is that a hole there?
No. I think that's supposed to be like the trackpad, but it's basically like it's an optical sensor, but I think it's supposed to function like a trackpad.
Darn, I really wish that it was where you plug the Ethernet cord so that it's just like right in front of you.
This thing looks really
I don't know.
uncomfortable to use.
With the way this thing's designed, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I'm just looking at it not as a gaming device, but as a portable computer. It looks like a little small 8-inch laptop, and it's got these very cute little circular keys, which I don't know if they're comfortable or not, but they look nice. It looks like a laptop, like a small little futuristic mini laptop, which for me is more intriguing than whatever that abomination it is when it's in gaming mode. Let's look at the specs actually. It's got an 8-inch touchscreen. No info on is it a TN panel, is it IPS, is it OLED? Intel 11th Gen i7 1180 G7 processors, which is interesting. 16 gigabytes of LPDDR4X RAM, which is a mobile type of RAM, which is interesting. 256 gigabyte M2 SSDs, makes sense. 2 USB 3.1 and Type-C ports, and an optical touch sensor. So I suppose this is running off of internal graphics on the Intel chipset, which isn't really that good for professional or even moderate PC gaming. Like, this is low-end stuff. Like, this is... You can probably play Terraria and Minecraft on this, but anything else, doubt it.
Yeah, like, it would probably be good for emulation, but I don't know. I mean, there's better options out there, unless you really want one that's also like a full PC as your portable emulation machine.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like a small little compact 8-inch computer. Yeah, I could see that happening. I like to see the price. There's also other, products in this category, such as the GPD.
Oh, kinda, yeah.
It's like a 3DS, but it's got like Windows on it. It's and a keyboard. It's pretty cool. But yeah. Who put this in the list? Why aren't we talking about this? Oh, dude. I guess we should end the podcast now.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Actually, Steven, you edited the podcast last week, so here's my chance of critiquing you a little bit. So, listen, overall, you did an amazing job. Like, congratulations on that. Yeah. It was really nice of you giving me a break for the weekend, so I really thank you for that. The only thing I'd say is that you needed to cut off a little bit of the Austin Powers jokes that we made, like all of them, because...
But they're so shagadelic.
Yeah, here's the thing, Steven. Nobody watches... Nobody even knows who Austin Powers is, right? Because it was like 30 years ago, and we're just 40-year-old men who remember that shit. So, don't do that. And also, overall, the podcast was too long. You could have easily cut off 20 minutes of material. It almost feels like you didn't do anything at all, so shame on you. I mean... I
apologize. I took the whole week off myself, too.
Yeah, you just cobbled it together. You didn't edit anything, which is, you could have easily cut off 20 minutes of Austin Powers jokes, because that 20-minute segment of us just nonstop doing old bastard impressions, Oh, I got on a Subway diet.
You're thinking of the Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan.
No, there was a...
Old dirty bastard.
Old
You're
dirty
thinking
bastard.
of fat bastard. You're confusing. Oh my god, I would love to see Fat Bastard in Wu-Tang Clan, though.
Yeah, that would have been a better movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Eric, any final thoughts?
Nope. Love you guys. Goodbye.